Well, in our People and Places segment, we had 2 stars. But now we realize we have one of the biggest stars in Philippine-China relations, and that is the Sultan of Sulu 600 years ago.
Yes.
May star na tayo doon. But now, again, another star visited, and that is Princess Jacel. And you'll see the star treatment that Princess Jacel received. And then we'll ask her reaction. Okay, let's roll that entry of Princess Jacel into the conference room of what's that sponsored by the, just to acknowledge.
It was sponsored by the...
Chinese?
No, wait lang. It was sponsored by the Beijing Association of Returned Overseas Chinese from the Philippines.
Okay.
Ang haba ho ng pangalan
And President Zhuang?
Yeah, and the president of that association is President Yishan Zhuang.
Okay. Are you ready? Let's roll that segment.
This is custom-made coffee.
Oh, anong reaction mo nung you were received there in that hall?
Una po, I never expected that it would be that way. When they gave us the time, 9:30 we will start, by 9:15 I went already because I know that they value time, so they start on time. But when I came in at 9:15, everybody wants to have a photo with me. And it was only in China that, well, it's unexpected, but I'm so overwhelmed with the acceptance and maybe because they want to have, maybe the reason why they want to have a photo with me is because they knew that I am the great-great-great-great-granddaughter of the Sulu king who visited China during Ming Dynasty.
I was impressed by the interest in history. Bata, matanda, scholars, ordinaryong tao, interesado. Higit 100 ata nandun. They prepared only initially for 50 to attend, no?
But I think they, aside from the invited guests, meron pong, I think, mga 100 students who were there to learn in that forum. And that's a show that they really value history. And naniniwala po talaga ako because if you trace the history of China, alam po natin na dumanas sila ng hirap sometime during Marcos regime, right? That Marcos, former President Marcos, invested in China to help uplift their economy, no? But that was just how many years ago? And if you go to China now, you will really feel that you are living in a third world country. And I think that's one reason na kung bakit ang bilis po ng pag-angat at pag-akyat ng China tungo sa pag-unlad because they value their history. Because sabi nga po, di ba, history repeats itself. So when that time happens again, if you know your history, if you know what happened in the past, and if that same problem exists at the present, you will know how to handle it based on how it was handled in the past.
That's right. Kaya even in our Filipino language, may kasabihan, ang di lumilingon sa pinanggalingan
hindi makakarating sa
paroroonan. And we have so many lessons to learn from our own history. And one of them is this historical fact that the Philippines and Filipinos have had a long history of friendship and fraternity with China and the Chinese people. And there are people today that are trying to make us forget that and say that we are going to be enemies and so on.
And sadden po that there are also people who would want to remake history and favor their own interests. So I think as Filipinos, we all have to be united in talagang palabasin ang totoong historya, aralin ang totoong historya ng kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. At nang sa gayon, baka totoo talaga yung kasabihan, ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan, hindi makakarating sa pararoonan. But if we study our history, baka nga po makarating na tayo sa dapat nating kalagyan.
Princess Jacel gave a speech there. We did not include it here today because we will invite you a few weeks later and we will play that one. But here are the lectures during the conference. The first one we will show is the lecture by Mr. Wang, a scholar who is focused on studying the Sultan of Sulu's history in China.
He's a professor from Dezhou University.
Dezhou.
Yeah,
Dezhou. We have difficulty pronouncing that. They have a lot more information because they have a recorded history. But then, sige, go ahead.
And the records po is as early as Ming Dynasty. Kasi daw po in China, different dynasties, different strokes in writing or different writing per dynasty. So, ito daw po, yung basis niya, or reference niya of the history of Sulu and China was based on the writings in Ming Dynasty.
Okay, so let's roll this segment with Professor Wang, and we'll explain as we watch this few minutes of his lecture. Okay, let's roll it.
苏鲁王墓最珍贵的文物《玉制苏鲁国东王碑》给大家介绍。那么《玉制苏鲁国东王碑》始建于永乐16年9月初1日。这个碑文呢
background, no? And let's keep rolling that. So we will explain as we go along. The next one will be him explaining the route of the travel of the Sultan of Sulu. Let's roll that, if you're ready. So makikita po nyo, you'll see down there on the below the screen or the lower part of the screen is how they trace the route coming from the Philippines to the Thai area, Indo-Chinese area, and then Vietnam, and then to Chuanchu, I think, but anyway, part of Fujian. And then from there, taking the land route to the Grand Canal. Okay, this is the one map. From Sulu to Sabah, I think that's a Sabah area. Tama ba? Borneo, better. Borneo, and then to the Thai peninsula, and then to the Vietnam area. Vietnam area, that's right. No? And then on to, now he alighted and took the land route to the Grand Canal. Tapos naglayag siya mula Grand Canal hanggang Beijing na sa ilog, sa river. And so it's a very interesting travel. We'll have more in the future, details from this history. And our Professor Wang went on to explain that the descendants there in China of the Sultan of Sulu became high officials in government, became military officers. I think there's a shot there of him presenting that. And we don't have time to explain everything, but we have a list of at least 8 or 9 of them. Yun ang mga naging, what do you call that? Yung sumunod na mga saling lahi, na generations that came. Naging Mandarins, maging government officials sila. So, are they Chinese? Are they Filipinos? It really doesn't matter. They became accomplished people. Yan, nag-explain siya. And we have a list of the names in another scene, which we cannot show here because we have limited time. But in future episodes, we will discuss that. And then Professor Wong went on to explain yung historically, yung mga bumisita doon, mga presidente ng Pilipinas, sila Imelda, si Marcos signing the 1975 agreement, and then followed by the other presidents. This was still Marcos, no? So he explained the details of the agreements, and then si Erap. Of course, even Cory visited, in-skip na lang natin yun. And then si Gloria Arroyo, and finally, I skipped Noy Noy because he created problems. So.
But I didn't see that in
You didn't,
the presentation of
baka
Professor.
You were listening eh. You were holding your earphone. Nakikinig siya sa translation, si Princess Jacel. So baka na-distract
Sorry,
ka.
but I really didn't see it.
So, the following is Darwin, ano apelido ni Darwin?
Absari.
Absari, a Muslim Islamic scholar sa University of the Philippines,
Yes.
who is doing also his studies here. Here we can listen to his explanation. Can we turn on his audio? Ulitin natin. Let's go back and roll that with audio so that we can hear Darwin's...
My topic is about the living legacies of Chinese in Sulu. Sulu has been exposed to so many great nations in the past. We had so many interactions with different peoples from different countries, from different background and culture. We have so many kinds of memories of our interactions with these groups of people. Some are bitter, some are pleasant. When we recall our memories with the Spaniards, it's bitter because we've been into war with the Spaniards for more than 300 years, who tried to conquer and Christianize the people in Sulu. In terms of our relationship with the Americans, it's also mixed with betrayal and bloody because there were wars and political manipulations. But when we think about our interactions with the Chinese friends, it's pleasant and it's full of good memories because there was no history of any, bitter relationship, war, and whatsoever. So, there are many theories about the beginning of contacts between the Chinese and the people in Sulu. One author say as early as the Tang Dynasty, because in Basilan there was a Tang Dynasty coin that was unearthed in Basilan, and the Tang ceramics that was also found in Sulu. Other scholars say the interaction began during the Song Dynasty. Other scholars say during the Yuan Dynasty. And this can be demonstrated in terms of tribute missions and trade exchange. And as early as 1368, according to some...
So that was just a very small part of the lecture of Absari, Darwin Absari from the University of the Philippines. And Darwin is writing a book with Cynthia Liang of the Confucius Institute of Ateneo here, based in the De La Costa Street. And so there's a lot of historical research and work being done. What do you know about all these? And
what Darwin was saying is, his topic is about the Chinese living legacies in Sulu. If you go to Sulu and if you know the Tausug culture and practices, marami po talagang pagkakapareho sa Chinese practices like marriage. The games that they play in Sulu is similar with the Chinese games.
did you play them when you were a kid?
No.
Okay.
Hindi po. Ano pa ba? Marami po. The colors, the costumes of the royalties, the wearing of golden yellow is only used by royalties, same as China po.
Yeah. And some of the images Darwin showed was one of the original mosques, which was in the architecture of Chinese temple.
That's in Tawi-Tawi po.
Tawi-Tawi. And of course, you are aware of Pun Tau Kun.
Yes.
You know the history of Pun
Yeah,
Tau Kun?
but when I first went to, my first time to visit Shandong, I was with Miss Teresita Angsi. And I told her about the story of Pun Tau Ku. And she said that Pun Tau Ku daw means deity.
Yes.
So it's seen everywhere.
Mhm.
So it's like a parang legend si Pun Tau Ku. But because I've been hearing po that in Sulu, specifically, I forgot the name of the place, but there is a tomb of an admiral who died.
I'm trying to
who was
recall
buried
the name.
there.
She. That's one of the names I heard. No?
Sige
We'll
po,
focus on
kakatravel lang natin.
we'll focus on that in one of these episodes. These historical monuments and sites connected to the visit of I think one of the officers of Zheng He. Is that?
Yeah, the navigator.
Yeah, the navigator.
The navigator.
And who died here naman in
I don't know
Sulu.
if it's Admiral Pepe.
Ayun, Pepe. Maybe not she, but Pepe.
Yeah, Admiral Pepe. But when I had it photographed, the tomb of Admiral of the yung sinasabing tomb of Admiral Pepe, and I showed it to them, they said that the writings are not in the Ming Dynasty writings, so they can distinguish po from what dynasty it happened because of the writings. But others in Sulu are other people in Sulu are saying na nasira na po talaga yung tomb na yun. So I think nabura na yung mga markings of the tomb, but they just renovated it.
Yeah,
So bago na po kasi yung itsura.
well, there's so much to report to the people about the history, and we don't have that much time. But we'll reserve some time in the future, some episodes in the future. I'm just thinking what other things that we can highlight about the. Well, of course, I think Darwin Absari said that the contacts actually between the Philippines and China goes back as far back as year 700 and so on, because of the artifacts that have been found. Okay, the second Filipino lecturer there is Professor Lucio Pitlo. We have just a short clip because my batteries ran out as I was filming. Here's Dr. Lucio Pitlo, if the third. And if we're ready with that, let's roll the video.
Good morning. It's a great pleasure to
China
speak
relations,
in front of you.
spotlighting on the
Distinguished,
Maritime Silk Road. And so this Maritime Silk Road is what we have to focus on. The One Belt, One Road summit has just transpired. And actually, ang pakiramdam ko, ang feeling ko is the Philippines has not visualized its role yet. But it's a good beginning that we start discussing it. In fact, among our colleagues, it is Ado Paglinawan who has conceptualized his own vision. Si Rod Kapunan, based on the Marcos plan before of cutting across Manila to Quezon, a road or a tunnel, so that the goods can travel to the Pacific side, from the China Sea side, within 40 minutes. And then it's transported to South America and North America. And then I think, who else has, of course, retired General Victor Corpus.
Yeah.
So these are advocates here of the Maritime Silk Road and the Philippines engaging with that. But I think it's not clear how we want to play that role. I think the Chinese side has been exercising also on the role the Philippines will play, just like the old galleon trade. You know. Anong naiisip mo tungkol dito?
I think ito nga po pag-aaral na naman ng kasaysayan. It happened 600 years ago when the Sulu Sultan traveled or navigated from Sulu all the way to China. So I'm not sure if this is the same route that they're going to use for the trading again.
Well,
but they said they're opening daw parang Tawi-Tawi as one port for.
So there, where did you hear that? That's the first time I heard it.
Yeah, I've heard it in Zamboanga, but I just heard it in one conversation.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll invite Albert Encomienda, who's an expert in maritime law and the maritime issues, and we can evolve some new concepts here. Okay, we have our last 5 minutes, so we'll move on. And now you will understand why I used the title, the great granddaughter of the Sultan of Sulu, because the Chinese hosts prepared the genealogy of your family. They listed down the names of those that they know or they have come to know on the Chinese side. No?
Yeah, from Sultan Batara and the 2 children of Sultan Batara who was left in Shandong. In
So
Desu.
briefly narrate that part. Who were left behind, and what is the tradition? When a Muslim passes away, he has to be buried the same day. That's why he was buried in Dezhou,
the
Shandong.
earliest possible time.
Earliest
He
possible
could
time.
be buried. He must be buried.
And then somebody has to take care of his tomb. Is that obligation?
Well, the children felt that it's their obligation to take care of the tomb of their father. Kaya po sila, that's why they decided na magpaiwan na lang in Shandong. And the children were named Andulu and Wenhala.
These were their Muslim names from the Philippines pa?
Yes,
Okay.
Andulu and Wenhala. And later they just adopted the
Wen,
surnames An
and naging
Wen.
apelido nila sa Chinese.
Yes,
and ginawa ng character siguro yan.
Yes.
No? Okay.
So I think pa nga po, one of the children of Sultan Batara fell in love with a Chinese commoner. So when the emperor learned about that, kinonfer niya po yung Chinese commoner to a princess.
And that is in the story of Hari sa Hari, Lahid sa Lahid,
Yes.
the movie. Well, that's another chapter we have to discuss. So ito po yung mga scenes kung saan inihandog ng mga Chinese counterparts yung kanilang hinanda na genealogy ng Sultan of Sulu there in China. Tingnan natin at diyan po natin makikita yung napaiyak si Princess Jacel. Okay. Let's roll it and while we explain. Can you start narrating this part? That of course is our host, Zun. No? He's a very indefatigable entrepreneur and so on. But anyway, sige.
Yeah, that's in that scroll is the letter of the emperor to Sultan Batara.
So sulat yan ni
Yes,
Emperor kay Sultan Batara.
Emperor Yongle to Sultan Batara. So, close po nila yung scroll, and then when Zun said, Princess, this is their gift to you,
Baka mapaiyak ka na naman ngayon, ha?
I felt so emotional. Kasi po, if you look at the present day situation of Sulu, talagang maaawa ka sa mga tao at sa lahat ng mga naninirahan sa Sulu. But it once had a very glorious past. Ito po yung ebidensya that it was glorious in the past. So, what happened to Sulu now? I felt so, alam mo, you felt greatness at the same time, you felt sorry for your people in Sulu, that we can no longer give them what they had in the past. So, as I don't know if I feel this because eto nga, baka nga talagang prinsesa ako. But, because I always, I live an ordinary life. And I consider myself as just a normal, ordinary Filipino citizen. But, being the daughter of Sultan Jacel Kiram III, eto na po responsibilities are now, are now on my shoulders. Whether I like it or not, I have an obligation to my people, and they are my people. We once had a glorious past, and I think making the Tausug learn about this history would bring them into something.
Ganyang kahaba ang linya ng mga pangalan. Yes, ito po yung
genealogy from from Andulu and Wenhala. So ito na, ganyan na kahaba yung listahan ng mga miyembro ng pamilya nila.
We have 1 minute left, so let's rush on to the still shots of the princess when she received that copy of the letter of the emperor to the Sultan of Sulu, yung scroll na yun. And yan, nagsimula ng lumuha si Princess Jacel.
Pinipigilan ko kasi nahiya ako, baka picturean niyo ako.
Okay, let's move on. The other frames, yan, and then, of course, now we have the yung dalawang pinsan mo to the that degree. Ayan ang reproduction ni Sultan Batara, binihisan ng imperial clothing.
Yes.
No? And then, yung in-interview natin...
What he's wearing po is a gift din from the emperor.
Okay. And there was an original one that medyo nasira na, no?
Natin
Nakita natin. And let's flash lang the images of An and Wen, yung mga pinsan ni Princess Jacel. Itong dalawa, in-interview po natin, but we're still translating the interview. Okay, That's about it. We have, Princess, your message. But of course, may continuation pa tayo in the future. But for now,
Mahaba po pala itong
Oo,
kwento ng
mahaba pa.
kasaysayan ng
Mahabang
Sultanato ng
kasaysayan.
Sulu and
Oo.
China.
Oo.
But gusto ko lang pong linawin sa lahat ng mga kababayan nating Filipino that I do this not because I'm a daughter of the late Sultan Kiram III, but I do this para sa mga Filipinos at lalong-lalo na po para sa mga Tausug, knowing our ties with the great nation in the past. I think it will somehow boost our morale as a people that hindi totoo that we were discovered as mangmang
That's
at
right.
savages.
That's right. Well,
We were once a glorious kingdom.
napakaganda po ng ating diskusyon at we have a living symbol of history with us. Simple, as she says, living a simple life. But we are all the monuments of history. We are a product of our history and we will make history. And I think that is what we gain from knowing Princess Jacel, and she realizes the huge responsibility of carrying that on for our nation. Maraming salamat, Princess.
Thank you so much, Kamendan,
Maraming
for having
salamat
me
po,
here.
and until our next episode.